So, Cyndi, I want to thank you for giving us some of your time here to be on this interview series today. Um, of course, I've been following you for a long time, and you've been a personal mentor of mine. And you were one of the first people to pop into my mind when I thought about this topic, of this whole interview series, which is, really self-proclaimed people pleasers and people who undermine themselves. And of course, this affects our dating and relationships. And Cyndi, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, what you do, and what motivates you to do the work that you do?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me on this series. This is such an important topic, and I've helped so many women around this exact thing, around people pleasing and pretzeling themselves to be and become whom we think everyone else likes. And so I'll just start off by telling a little bit about my background, who I am. And my name's Cyndi Olin. As you guys know, I'm a love and relationship expert. I call myself a love strategist, teach dating and relationships. So my journey, out of college, I started co-facilitating Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus workshops. And actually before that, I used to say before that, during that, in that realm of time, I used to say that I were man repellent, no joke. And so, and I always say this, I teach what I need the most. So I really didn't understand why I would go out on dates and I would dress cute and everything. I thought everything was great. And then literally it was like I would scare men off. They would run for the hills. And I promise I didn't stink or anything like that. I used to wear nice perfume. I still do. But anyway, I made it my mission to figure out what was really going on. And so around that, I figured it out. I would go on dates and I would literally be, not, how do I say, not really present. I would be with the guy and I would be thinking, oh, wow, he seems amazing. He's on track to be the kind of man that I want to marry. And, I'm envisioning this white picket fence with, 2.5 kids, the dog, the whole 9 yards, right? And I just wasn't really present, but I wasn't super in tune with the fact that I wasn't present in the beginning. But I figured out really early on that I was the common denominator in these men running for the hills. It wasn't them, it was me. So I did a lot of work, and that was part of my becoming a co-facilitator of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus workshops, which helped me to really understand men on a deeper level, where they're coming from, and really become a specialist around communication and understanding. And I teach something called love-based communication. And I then went on a journey of studying under other experts in my field that are now what they call dinosaurs. Some of them are retired now, and they're not really dinosaurs, but anyway. And I then became a high-end matchmaker. And through my journey of being a matchmaker, I found myself coaching my clients on how not to repeat patterns in relationships, and became very successful at that. And that inspired me to start my own coaching company. So here we are, 8 years later. I've helped thousands of women to attract and keep lasting love. And we really work around, as you know, Lydia, around boundaries, people pleasing, those parts and pieces that usually start to develop from the ripe tender ages of 0 to 8, or some researchers say 0 to 10. So that's just a little bit about what I've done, and what's inspired me to do this work. I've always felt called to do it.
Yeah.
I needed it really, really bad. And so it's just, it's a part of my mission on the planet to support as many women and men as possible to understand one another and come from a heart-centered place and understand and release your emotional triggers so that you can really create that deep, juicy connection that everybody wants and desires. So,
Yeah. Wow. You touched on so many points that I want to investigate, but really what I'm hearing you talk about is this heart-centered communication. And first, when I heard this, I was like, this is so abstract. What the heck does this even mean? And the more I talk to you and I work with you, the more I start to understand. Can you talk more about like, what is the difference between like this heart-centered communication versus the typical, way we try to go about solving problems?
right. Yeah, it's such a good question. And thank you for asking that question. It comes from our feelings and vulnerability. Ah, that scary word, vulnerability, which is, a lot of women that struggle with people pleasing and setting boundaries, because I'm going to put them in the same category there. It you know they usually struggle with speaking from their heart and coming from a feelings-based place, because they'll go up in their head really quickly,
Yeah.
and they'll go up into, well, should I say this? And they go into analysis paralysis. And believe me, I've been there. I That was my old life. And a lot of what I teach is I reverse engineered how I unhooked myself from that, and continue to do this process all the time, because it's easy for me to go back into my head and from my heart. But the heart-based communication, just to share on simple terms, it comes from sharing your feelings and getting connected with your feelings. So let's just say, I'll give an example because that's always easier, right? So it's like, a man you're interested in, you're dating, sends you a text message. And you look down, you see the text, and you probably get this really nice smile on your face. You're like, "Ooh, he texted me. I wonder what wonder what he said," right? Um, so when you see the text, you think about it. Okay, so how do I feel in this moment? Oh, I'm feeling flushed. I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling like an excited little girl, right? Say that.
Mm.
Oh, I looked down and saw your text, and I have to say, I felt like an excited little girl when I received your message. Men love that. It's, first of all, it's different than what a lot of women send. They're like, "Oh, hey, I'm great. How are you?" Or, whatever. Oh, I felt like an excited little girl to get your message. I'm doing fantastic. I'm feeling super accomplished today.
Wow.
What about you? I can't wait to see you Friday night, by the way.
hmm And I can feel the difference, but can you talk to us about a little bit the difference between like coming from there versus like, I see, as a hypnotist, I have couples, or I have spouses of couples coming in here, and they're like, well, I'm trying to get my needs met through arguing about it, through raising my voice, through making them feel guilty, and using all these thinking tactics. But why doesn't this work? And why is it more important, especially for women, to really circulate and be in stew with
Yeah.
feelings and express that?
It's you bring up a lot of good points, right? Because I think a lot of times unconsciously, we'll do whatever we saw our parents do until we learn something different. So, like for example, my mom used to yell a lot and, raise her voice to try to get her point across. And I remember when, in my very, early relationship, my, like first or second really major relationship, I raised my voice, I would yell, but that's not really me. And I did it because I was modeling after. So why do people do that, and why doesn't it work? So you were asking me, because I can easily go off on another tangent. So why they do it is because it's usually modeled to them, and it's modeled to them as an effective tool. And there's some advice out there
Yeah.
that some bad dating advice, some bad love advice that says, oh, well, you can basically manipulate your way to get your man to do what you want him to do, but it doesn't work long term. It might work short term.
Yeah.
And, making someone attempting to make someone feel guilty never works. I mean, people do that themselves. I mean, it's part of the reason. Um, and just a deeper explanation as to why we do that is because it's easier than setting a real boundary.
Yeah.
So doing that, in almost a manipulative tactic, you know what I mean? Like, um, eh, um,
It's a way like we can avoid real intimacy, right? That real connection.
yeah. So, and people do it unconsciously because, like, people would rather feel guilty themselves than feel than set a boundary and feel bad. You know what I mean? So and what usually that tactic goes with stuffing your feelings, stuffing your emotions, and then one day they look at you wrong and you blow your top off because you're actually not communicating. So this is what it all comes down to. So why is this more effective? Because you're communicating more often, and you're communicating from a feeling space. Now, you don't want to take your laundry list and go, honey, it would feel really nice if you put away the dishes, or you folded the clothes, or whatever. You want to pick and choose. But you also don't want to, and you remember, you teach people how to treat you. So you want to use some communication styles, like I call this an appreciation sandwich. So you want to start with a positive, like, honey, I so appreciate how helpful you are. You always make sure, like, to clean the floors, or you always make sure to take out the garbage for me. And I just, I could just exhale for the fact that you do these really amazing things for me. That makes him feel so good. And then go into, and I would feel even more free if you would please just clean your dishes after you're finished and put them in the dishwasher. What do you think? So you're not telling him what to do. Men hate to be told what to do. They are inspired by things being their own idea, right? But you're asking something and then you're saying, what do you think?
Yeah.
And you're holding space. You're not, and I think the problem with some of this communication style too is, I feel like there's at least one woman answer, think on this interview going, "Oh, I've tried things like that. It works maybe one time and then it goes back to what normal." Here's what I'm going to tell you. When something isn't a habit for someone, it takes time. So it's okay to follow up. It's not normal for him to do certain things or um, read your mind. So if he understands what you're thinking, I was thinking about, maybe it would be easier if we, you know, rearranged our pantry so it was just easier to access things. What do you think? Huh? So you're enrolling him in it. You're letting him know. And you're doing things together. If you want to have more date nights, if you're looking to create more connection together, you need to let him know.
Yeah.
Because men, and we're all creatures of habit, but if he knows, like, honey, I feel like we need to, I would feel so much closer to you if we could have a date night once a week. And he's going to be like, sure, you do it, you plan it. Because he wants you to be happy. So you need to also communicate, well, what would feel even better is if you took the lead on that. Then I'm going to feel like you're courting me and we're doing some of those things that we love, like listen to music or go to a movie. I always love the adventures that we go on. If he knows that, he's going to plan them. My guy always thinks of things because he knows I like creating memories.
Yeah.
Even if I don't love it, like he talked about going to the monster truck show last weekend. Doesn't sound like fun to me at all. Okay. But I would do it for my boys. I will totally do it. And I was like, oh, that could be fun. What else are you thinking? So I don't make him wrong. I don't go, oh no, that sounds horrible. Oh, that could be fun. What else do you think?
Yeah. I love how you said, like, I'm not making him wrong, because a lot of the strategy and the tactics that we use, right, the anger, raising your voice, is manipulation, right? It's like, let's trigger a threat inside of the other person. Let's trigger guilt, or let's trigger anxiety to get my needs met. And while you can do that and you're free to continue doing that, notice the results it's bringing back. Like, this is all happening in real time, right?
Right.
So
And men will always go into the defensive when a woman comes from that place of questioning, or, even if you don't think you're making him wrong, you're questioning him.
yeah,
It's a form of emasculation.
yeah,
So when you learn how to position your question, you could still ask the question like, hey honey, I was feeling curious. What made you decide to do this? Like, I'm not trying to make you wrong at all. I'm seeking to understand. You see the difference? Or let's just say he runs late. You're dating someone and he runs late, which a lot of women will shut down, especially if you're people pleaser-y, right? You'll shut down, you won't say anything because you'll think, oh, I'm sure he had a really good excuse. Or you might even create a story in your mind like, oh, maybe he just doesn't like me that much, or not that big of a priority. But what you get to do is, if it happens one time and he's a couple minutes late, big deal. But if time's a really important thing to you, you get to share about it And he'd say things like, well, hey, I remembered we were supposed to, get together at 6:30 and it's 6:50, whatever. And I, you know, I was just feeling curious as to what happened. And
Yeah.
he might go, oh, yeah, I was running late. I was on a business call and I'm so sorry. I didn't have time to text you. It's like, I understand how things happen. And when someone's late, I start to feel like I'm not that important to them. I'm sure, I'm sure that's not what you meant by that. Is that what you meant? And they will go, oh my goodness, no, 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 most of the time they're a healthy person. But when somebody hears how you felt, most people go, oh gosh, I would never want to make you feel that.
Right. Yeah.
and
Exactly
and
like you said. We don't
and then you
boundaries.
set right, and then you set the boundary. You just say, hey, it would feel really good moving forward if if you're running late, which I understand how things happen, if you'd send me a quick message to let me know
Yeah.
or be on time. Right. and
Yeah.
and most Go ahead.
Sorry, Cindy. Of course, I'm excited about this conversation. But I just wanted to point out to the audience that, what I'm hearing you do is you're educating the other person. You're not coming from a place of you should already know. Because again, like you said, that important thing, none of us can mind read, not even you, the viewer who's watching, right? Even if you're in that relationship, notice you can't mind read either. Like put yourself in their position. Right.
Well, and a lot of women try to, especially when we get triggered. We get triggered when somebody does something like they're late or they don't take you to the place that you thought, or whatever your expectations are let down. The story that can be created is, there's something, they don't really like me that much, there's something wrong with me, or they're not, you know but when you teach people how to treat you, or when you share from a feeling place without making someone walk wrong what's on your mind, then it gives a man an opportunity to do something different. Now, when you're doing this, if you're already in a relationship and your guy shows up um, defensively quite a bit, that may continue to happen a little bit in the beginning, because that's what he's used to doing, is being on the defense. And men may do that, if you're early getting to know them, and they may get a little defensive,
Mhm.
or they may not. It depends on the guy, but they will typically come back and course correct. And you want to watch their actions. So, because men are used to defending their honor and defending themselves, because most people, most women will go into making them wrong somehow, or shutting down, or pouting, or doing something. And he picks it up. He picks up on that energy.
Yeah.
So it's really learning. And when you're triggered, it can be easy to go into some sort of story in your head that is 90% of the time not the case. So
Yeah.
taking a moment to just take a deep breath, hand on your heart, what am I feeling?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then asking yourself, well, what am I making this mean? Okay, so has it, and how does he normally show up? Oh, well, he normally is very consistent. He's normally, really communicative, whatever it is, right? If you have all this evidence that really he shows up in a high value way, then the trigger is being, the trigger is the guide to something that gets to be healed. Somebody showing up unhealthy or toxic, that's a whole other story. So I'm really just speaking into more of a healthier man.
Okay.
Yeah. So what will happen is then you can start to let go of that trigger. So what am I making this? I'm making it mean that he doesn't care, I'm not important, or da, 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 da. Is that really the truth?
Yeah.
No. Um, the truth is that he usually shows up. So how can I express myself in a way that lets him know without making him wrong? And I know the fear of most women is, well, when I communicate, I don't want to appear needy.
Or drive him away or make him
Yeah,
angry
or
right
push him away, or
away.
and coming from an empowered place, you don't want to talk when you're feeling really reactive. You want to take a moment, you want to calm yourself down. And once you get really good at this, clearing those emotions around the trigger
Yeah.
and going, okay, so I get to have communication about this, or maybe this doesn't merit communication. Maybe the communication needed to be with me, myself, and I. But you want to practice that communication, like, hey, I'm so happy to see you. And when X happened, I felt I felt really sad that I didn't hear from you after that big meeting you had. I was really excited, and I started to feel like I wasn't that important to you.
Yeah.
um, is that the case? And he's going to be like, oh, heck no, that's not it. The meeting went late, and I had another meeting after that. And I got so tired, I fell asleep on the couch or whatever. Um, but it's, it's good to share your feelings because it holds space for them to be able to share vulnerably as well.
I love it. Oh, it's just something I like to tell my clients as well, is like you become a gift, right? You become an opportunity when you kind of go first and you say, you're putting out your hand, you're saying, hey, I want to hear you too. I want that intimacy. I want that connection. And like you said earlier, I think this is something that everybody craves, even though it can be scary. And I know we could talk about this all day, and of course I want to, but just to honor your time and everyone else's. And I know that this community really needs help, especially with that communication to get to that place of intimacy. So, Cyndi, I know you have something for the audience that can help guide them in that direction. Can you tell us a little more about
Sure,
what you have for them?
sure. And I'll say one more thing if you don't mind,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of women start to think to themselves, like, why do I have to always be the one to communicate? Why can't he share? And some men are good at it, and many men need us to lead. Like, we are actually the emotional leaders in relationship. That is who we signed up to be, as being the female. And unless if you're in a female female relationship, there's usually one that is assigned that role. So
Yeah.
you just want to remember that that is, and a male, it's the same thing. It's like, and men do work too around this, around, how do I come from a more connective place? It works the same way because men struggle with the same things that women do around this. I just had to share that piece because I feel like it's just really, really important. So my gift that I have for your watchers and listeners is I have some framework, love-based communication scripts. So as you know, certain situations that happen in dating or relationships, I have framework that you can utilize to communicate effectively. So you can, you know, from dating to, you know, certain situations and early relationship or even relationships, but this framework will work for anything. You could say, you know, so there's a lot of really rich, informative information and styles within which to get into your heart on a deeper level. And so it's in a PDF format. It's really rich, great information, and I highly recommend it. So
Yeah. We'll put the link below this video so that everybody who's interested can go in and access that. Do you have a website or anything that people can go to find out more about you and if they want to work with you?
sure, yeah. It's createyourownluckinlove.com or CyndiOlin.com. Either one will help. And Cyndi is spelled Cyndi, last name spelled OLIN.com. And yes, you can, you know, definitely sign up for a 30-minute complimentary one-on-one session with myself or one of my love coaches on staff, which are very informative and supportive, just really to help you with navigating the next step in this area of your life if you feel called to, for
Yeah.
sure.
Like I said, I think everybody's craving this. And Cyndi, thank you so much for your expertise. And I think this free gift, like if this is something you're struggling with and you're watching this, like go get this script. Scripts are amazing, especially if you don't have that role model, right? Maybe you don't really know what healthy looks like. Like go get this. Don't waste time. Cyndi is, I've worked with her personally and has just given me new perspectives I never even thought possible and new evidence of my life in my life of those perspectives in my dating life as well. So like I said, we'll put these links below. Go visit her website. And thank you, Cyndi, so much for your time. And I definitely we'll definitely be talking in the future. So
For sure. Well, and thank you so much for putting this together and inviting me to be a part of this. The world definitely needs this support right now. So
yeah, perfect. What a
thanks
great
again for
interview.
having me.
Thank you, Cyndi.